Hello everyone, this is another video about the Korg DSN-12 synthesizer, and today I'd like to talk about the Kaoss Pads and what we can do with them. And before we get started, let's just clear a new file and let's set up some tone that isn't too high-pitched or harsh, because this time around I try to record direct audio and I don't want it to be too harsh. So I guess that's okay. And let's also have a simple rhythm section like this. Okay, so let's take a look at the Kaoss Pads. And to get to the Kaoss Pads, we go to our synth window and hit the Kaoss Pad tab. And now we are greeted with the Kaoss Pad window. And before we get deeper into that, let's talk about what actually a Kaoss Pad is and what it does. It's basically a two-dimensional space with an x-axis and a y-axis, which allows us to manipulate two properties of our synthesizer at the same time. And that's basically what a Kaoss Pad is. And the Korg DSN-12 synthesizer offers us three different Kaoss Pads, which each allow us to manipulate different properties of our synthesizer. So the first Kaoss Pad lets us manipulate the pitch and the gate of our synthesizer, and we can do so by sliding our pen across the x and y axis. So the x-axis will increase the pitch, like so. And as you can hear, when we touch the Kaoss Pad, it automatically plays our current pattern. And if we move across the y-axis, we can open up or close the gate of our synthesizer. And thus we can more or less manipulate these two properties at the same time. And we can also configure our Kaoss Pad by hitting the bottom line of the Kaoss Pad. And here we can set the starting node of our x-axis. So it will start with a C sound, and it will increase the pitch through the Ionian scale, and it will do so for the range of 2 octaves. And I think this is quite an interesting learning tool, because you can learn something about the different scales and which notes and intervals they actually make up and contain. So for example, we have the Ionian scale, and if we go to the Kaoss Pad, we can now record this scale into our sequencer. And we can do so by hitting the record button, and it will now start playing our pattern. And if we move along the Kaoss Pad, the data will be recorded. And as we record the data, it will automatically play this data back to us. And if we now look at the sequencer, we can see the notes have been recorded into it. And we can see the Ionian scale more or less consists of all the white keys of our keyboard. So it doesn't really use the black keys. And I would recommend you to experiment some with this, because scales are more or less notes that humanity has agreed upon, that they sound more or less good when they are played in succession or maybe even simultaneously. So let's look at the next Kaoss Pad. This one allows us to manipulate the panning and the volume of our synthesizer. Panning means that we can change which speaker of our stereo headset or whatever we want our synthesizer to move the audio to. So for example, if I tap here, it should now play the audio on the left speaker. And as I go more to the right, it will move the audio to the right speaker. And here we can increase the volume. I guess that's more or less rather straightforward, and this is too linked to our sequencer. So if we go to the sequencer window, we can see these two more or less are related to our first Kaoss Pad, then volume and panning is related to our second Kaoss Pad, and then we have Kx and Ky, which is related to our third Kaoss Pad. And I think the third one is maybe the most interesting one, because it allows us to freely set which property should be manipulated. By default, it's set to our filter, so it lets us manipulate the cutoff frequency and the peak of our filter. And we can change that by going again by tapping at the bottom, and here we have the option to set the x-axis of our Kaoss Pad to either of these properties of our synthesizer, and we can also do so for the y-axis. And then we just hit yes, and it will just do like so. And of course we can also record the data to our sequencer, and as you can see, we now have this data set into our sequencer. And that's more or less the basics of the Kaoss Pad, and as you can see, it opens up some possibilities for us to further compose music and sounds, because now we have the ability to manipulate a lot more properties of our synthesizer over time via the sequencer. That's more or less it from me about the Kaoss Pad. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments, and yeah, see you in the next video, I hope.